My name is Jonathan Rivas, presenting the second half. So further discussing the solution that the analyst used after the data was cleaned up and deciding the code program, which is all that he was using. The next section was to decide how to run a formula on each artist and create a vector in which it will create track IDs for each musician. So to do that, they created a code line called getFeatures, which, as stated before, features is another name for the variables being used in this analyst. So it performed the getFeatures on those vectors. After the data was merged to contain the features for all the tracks and the playlist for each musician, the analyst merged it with the mean of each feature. And that was used in an aggregate function. So on the bottom left, you'll see the code used for the getFeatures. And on the bottom right, you'll see the end result for the mean, in which you could see for about 10 artists looking through the variables right there. So after that data was received, now it comes to visualizing it. One of the biggest jobs for analysts is to be able to convey the data in a way that people could understand. Most people can't understand code. Most people can't understand all these aggregates and functions that are performed. So that's why visualization is such a huge piece in performing for analytics. So this analyst performed two visual charts. The first one's a radar chart. We didn't go that over this semester, but I think it's actually a pretty awesome chart. So I'm starting off with radar charts. This chart's used to kind of compare the vibes of the musicians with the features / variables that was discussed in previous slides. And this was done by using R as well. So looking at that code line, you'll see the mean features norm function, which will apply the mean to the features. Once he applied that for all the artists, he then ran the code, and on the bottom, you'll see the line code to create the chart radar. So this is the visualization for the radar chart. It's definitely bright compared to our charts, and it may seem kind of confusing in the beginning, but let me explain it for a minute. All the features are on the outer rim of the presentation, such as danceability, energy, key, loudness. And then in this chart, the analyst did it by 10 artists at a time. So if we look at Taylor Swift's and Drake's music, you can see that their music heavily relies on danceability and mode. Mode is another way to say if it's a major key or a minor key. But then if you look at an artist like Kygo, who's a DJ, instrumentalist is a big part of their music. And then for a lyricist like Kendrick Lamar, obviously the liveliness and speechiness is a huge portion of their music. And if you listen to music and you think about those artists, you could tell that this data truly correlates to these artists. So moving forward, the second visualization and algorithm that the analyst performed was a cluster analysis. This is one of the latest analysis we've actually done in class, so it's really cool to see that it was performed and something that interests me and Amanda. So just a little bit review again what cluster analysis is. It's to divide into groups on similarities in the data. So in this case, it's grouped by music preference and then also by grouping the artists into clusters. So the first thing that needs to be accomplished is rescaling the data. Rescaling data is important because, like in class, you could see that a bunch of like the columns, the numbers might be quite different. And if the numbers are quite different in the columns, you definitely get very inaccurate data. So the first thing the analyst did, which is cool because obviously we didn't do coding in this class, so seeing the coding code for something that we did through Excel is pretty cool. So how they scaled the data was by running the code scale.features. And then he did it by doing the row names and finding the mean of the features for the musician. So going on to the next slide is deciding what clustering the analysts use. So K-means clustering was the one decided. It is one of the most popular techniques for unsupervised statistical learning. It works interactively to assign each data point to a K group based on the variables. In this data set, it was K equals 6. It was the 6 represents the top 6 music genres that we have today. Below, you can see the code that this analyst used. So you could see, pull the library from all of the code that he used before, made a plot for it, loaded it all in, and then on the bottom you can see a little code line that says K means underscore plot. That is the way that he displayed the visualization for the K-means clustering. So here's the K-means clustering visualization. At first, it's like, whoa, it's a kind of a hard thing to see. But on the right, you could see that each genre was color-coded per genre for the 6 genres. And looking at the colors, you could see that most genres usually stayed with each other, whether it's green on the right and blue on top, or pink and orange. But you can also see that there is some kind of in between certain genres. Some genres do have a mixture of artists who use different types of genres. So you could see an artist like Kendrick Lamar be not too far from Maroon 5 because they both have some music that has like a pop beat in it. So if you look more closer to this presentation, you can see how closely a lot of these artists are correlated, but they, in terms of their top genres, seem to be in their top genre, which is awesome. Like I stated before, if you know these artists and you know the genre that they're usually in, you can see it correlates pretty well and pretty much agreeable with most people think. Some outliers are Coldplay. You can see on the bottom, more to the right, slightly to the right. They are a rock band, but you could tell that they're in so many different features. It was hard for the model to tell because they have songs with Beyonce and rappers and all that stuff. So there are definitely some outliers. So in conclusion, like I said, if you know an artist, you could pretty much tell that they were properly put into the right genre category. So you can see Kendrick Lamar and Kanye West and Lil Wayne, all these rappers in the number 6. So that means all the rappers together. But you'll see another rapper, Wiz Khalifa, in 4. That's because he has quite a bit of pop hits with other pop artists. But one of the most interesting groupings I've seen, and thinking about it, it somewhat makes more sense, but if you could see on number 3 is Post Malone is put as number 3. But if you go 3 people over to the right, you'll also see that Adele is number 3. So when you think about it, these are completely 3 different artists in terms of vocal range, and you may consider their music completely different. But if you think about the instrumentals, how the music's created, and more of the math of the music and the science of the music, and you go more into that, you might be surprised to see how similar these two artists are in terms of that. So overall, this clustering seems to work proper, but there are some surprises, like I said, with Post Malone and Adele. So hope you all have a great day. This is our presentation, and thank you.